The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alaric, a 43-year-old architect in Seattle, had always prided myself on my ability to design structures that were both beautiful and sound. Little did I know, the foundation of my own life was about to crumble. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Vivienne, my wife of 15 years, a vibrant and successful marketing executive, began working later hours. "Big project," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine just a fraction too quickly. I dismissed it, attributing it to the pressures of her demanding career. We'd always been a team supporting each other's ambitions. Trust was the bedrock of our relationship, or so I believed. Then came the phone calls. Late at night, hushed whispers in the hallway, always ending abruptly when I approached. I'd ask who it was, and she'd brush it off as a colleague, a client, someone work-related. The seed of doubt, once planted, began to sprout, its tendrils wrapping around my heart. One evening, while Vivienne was at a conference in Portland, I decided to surprise her. I booked a last-minute flight, envisioning a romantic dinner, a chance to reconnect amidst her busy schedule. I arrived at the hotel, the Grand Vista, and approached the front desk, a bouquet of lilies clutched in my hand. "Vivienne Morrow," I said to the clerk, a young man with tired eyes. "She's with," he paused, glancing at his computer screen. "A Mr. Caspian Dubois." The name hit me like a physical blow. Caspian. It was the name I'd seen flashing on her phone screen, the name she'd quickly dismiss as a wrong number. Caspian Dubois. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of dread. "Could you tell me what room they're in?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The clerk hesitated, then, seeing the anguish in my eyes, relented. "Room 608, the elevator ride was an eternity. Each floor that passed felt like a step closer to a precipice, a point of no return. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold the flowers. When the doors finally opened on the 6th floor, I walked down the hallway, my footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. Room 608. I stood outside the door, my breath caught in my throat. I raised my hand to knock, then stopped. What was I hoping to achieve? A denial? An explanation? I knew deep down what I would find. Gathering every ounce of courage I possessed, I pressed my ear against the door. A muffled laugh, Vivienne's laugh, the one that used to make my heart soar. Then a man's voice, deep and resonant. "You're incredible, Vivienne. I've never felt like this before." The world tilted on its axis. My legs threatened to buckle beneath me. I stumbled back, away from the door, the lilies falling to the floor, their delicate petals scattering like fallen dreams. I didn't need to see it to know. The truth was a cold, hard knife twisting in my gut. I turned and fled, back to the elevator, back to the lobby, back to the airport. I boarded the next flight to Seattle, numb with shock and disbelief. The rain continued to fall, blurring the city lights below, each drop a tear I couldn't shed. Back in our home, the home we had built together, the home filled with memories, I wandered through the rooms like a ghost. Every photograph, every piece of furniture, every object held a shared history, now tainted by betrayal. I found myself in our bedroom, the room where we had shared so many intimate moments, now a scene of potential infidelity. I opened her closet, the scent of her perfume, a fragrance I once found intoxicating, now nauseating. And that's when I saw it. Tucked away in the back, hidden beneath a pile of scarves, was a small, velvet box. I opened it, my hands trembling. Inside, nestled on a bed of satin, was a diamond ring, a ring I had never seen before. A ring that was clearly not an anniversary gift, birthday present, or any other occasion we had celebrated in our 15 years of marriage. It was exquisite, expensive, and undoubtedly from Caspian. The rage that had been simmering beneath the surface finally erupted. I grabbed a vase from the bedside table and hurled it against the wall, the shattering glass a violent expression of my pain and fury. I screamed, a primal scream of anguish and betrayal that echoed through the empty house. In the days that followed, I barely ate or slept. I replayed every moment of our relationship in my mind, searching for clues, for signs I had missed. Had I been blind? Had I been a fool? How could I have been so wrong about someone I thought I knew so well? Vivienne returned from Portland, her face flushed, her eyes bright. She launched into a fabricated tale about the success of the conference, the important connections she had made. I listened in silence, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest. Finally, when she finished, I held out the velvet box, the diamond ring gleaming under the lamplight. Her face paled. What is this?" she stammered. "Don't insult my intelligence, Vivienne," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "I know about Caspian, I know about Portland, and I know this isn't the only lie you've told me." She crumbled, tears streaming down her face. She confessed everything, the affair, the lies, the deceit. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. She begged for forgiveness, promising it would never happen again, but the trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I had loved, was a phantom, a figment of my imagination. I looked at her and I saw a stranger. "I want a divorce," I said, the words cold and final. "Get out of my house." She pleaded, she cried, she threatened, but I was unmoved. The pain was too deep, the betrayal too profound. I had to protect myself, to salvage what was left of my dignity and self-respect. The divorce was bitter and acrimonious. Vivienne fought for everything she could, fueled by guilt and desperation. But I was resolute. I wouldn't let her take anything more from me. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Brielle, to uncover the full extent of Vivienne's affair and financial improprieties. Brielle was efficient, thorough, and discreet. She discovered that Caspian was not only married but also had a history of infidelity. He was a wealthy businessman who preyed on vulnerable women, promising them a life of luxury and excitement. Armed with this information, I confronted Vivienne in court. The judge, appalled by her behavior, ruled in my favor. I was awarded a significant settlement, and Vivienne was left with nothing but her shame and regret. But the money meant nothing to me. I was still broken, still wounded. The scars of betrayal would likely never fully heal. I decided to leave Seattle to start fresh, to rebuild my life from the ashes of my shattered dreams. I sold our house, packed my belongings, and moved to a small coastal town in Oregon, a place where I could find peace and solitude. I spent my days walking on the beach, watching the waves crash against the shore, the rhythmic sound a soothing balm to my troubled soul. I started painting again, a passion I had neglected during my marriage. I found solace in art, in expressing my emotions on canvas. One day, while browsing through an art gallery in town, I met a woman named Seren. She was a potter, her hands calloused and strong, her eyes kind and intelligent. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her warmth and authenticity. We started spending time together, exploring the coastline, sharing stories, and laughing. Seren was a breath of fresh air, a ray of sunshine after a long, dark storm. She didn't judge me for my past. She didn't pry into my wounds. She simply accepted me for who I was, a broken man trying to heal. Slowly, tentatively, I began to open my heart again. I realized that not all women were like Vivienne, that there was still goodness and love in the world. Seren helped me to trust again, to believe in the possibility of happiness. One evening, as we sat on the beach watching the sunset, Seren turned to me, her eyes filled with tenderness. "Alaric," she said, "I know you've been hurt, but I also see the strength and resilience in you. I care about you deeply." I took her hand, my heart overflowing with gratitude and affection. "Seren," I said, "you've shown me that it's possible to love again. I'm not sure I'm ready for a serious relationship, but I want to be with you. I want to explore where this could go." She smiled, her eyes sparkling. "That's all I ask," she said. "Let's take it one day at a time." And so I began a new chapter in my life, a chapter filled with hope and healing. I knew that the scars of betrayal would always be a part of me, but I also knew that I was strong enough to overcome them. With Seren by my side, I was ready to face the future, whatever it may hold. One afternoon, a few months later, I received a phone call from Brielle, the private investigator. "Alaric," she said, "I have some news about Vivienne and Caspian." My heart sank. I thought I had put that chapter of my life behind me. "What is it?" I asked, bracing myself for the worst. "Caspian's wife found out about the affair," Brielle said. "She divorced him and took him for everything he had. He's now bankrupt and living in a small apartment in Portland." I felt a pang of satisfaction, a sense of justice served, but it was fleeting. Revenge was a hollow victory. It didn't bring Vivienne back, it didn't erase the pain. It simply confirmed that karma had a way of catching up with people. "And Vivienne?" I asked. "She's working as a waitress in a diner," Brielle said. She lost her job after the divorce and has been struggling to make ends meet. Caspian abandoned her as soon as his wife found out. I felt a flicker of pity for Vivienne, but it quickly dissipated. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. I had no desire to gloat or seek further revenge. I simply wanted to move on. "Thank you, Brielle," I said. "I appreciate your help." I hung up the phone and walked out onto the beach, Seren waiting for me, her smile warm and inviting. I took her hand and we walked along the shore, the waves crashing against our feet, the sun setting on the horizon. I knew that I had a long way to go, but I was finally on the right path. The path to healing, the path to forgiveness, the path to a new life. A life filled with love, hope, and the promise of a brighter future years past. Seren and I built a beautiful life together. We got married on the beach, surrounded by our friends and family. We traveled the world, explored new cultures, and created countless memories. I never forgot the pain of Vivienne's betrayal, but I refused to let it define me. I learned to forgive, not for her sake, but for my own. I learned that life is too short to hold on to anger and resentment. I chose to focus on the present, on the love and happiness that I had found with Seren. One day, I received a letter from Vivienne. It was a long, rambling apology, filled with remorse and regret. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had destroyed the best thing that had ever happened to her. She said that she was now working as a volunteer at a homeless shelter, trying to make amends for her past actions. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She simply wanted me to know that she was sorry. I read the letter with a mixture of emotions: sadness, compassion, and a lingering sense of betrayal. But I also felt a sense of closure. Vivienne had finally taken responsibility for her actions. She had finally acknowledged the pain she had caused. It was a small step, but it was a step in the right direction. I wrote back to her, a short, simple message. I told her that I had forgiven her, not because she deserved it, but because I needed to move on with my life. I wished her well and hoped that she would find peace and happiness. I never heard from Vivienne again. But I knew that she was out there somewhere trying to make a difference in the world, and I knew that I had finally found peace within myself. The storm had passed, the rain had stopped, and the sun was shining brightly on my life. I had rebuilt my foundation, stronger and more resilient than before, and I was ready to embrace the future with Seren by my side, my heart filled with love and gratitude.